95% of the fleas in your house are not on your pet. Not on the dog, not on the cat. They're in the carpet, in the pet bed, down in the cracks along your skirting boards, in the couch seams. Eggs, larvae, and cocoons. Only 5% of a flea infestation is the biting adult. So when you treat the dog and the fleas come back in a fortnight, that isn't a product failure and it isn't bad luck. You killed the 5%. The other 95 was always going to hatch on schedule. And here's the one that'll stop you cold. The flea pupa, the cocoon stage, can sit in your carpet for up to 5 months, waiting. Nothing you spray touches it. That cocoon is insecticide-resistant, and that isn't my opinion. That's what the entomologists call it. And when it feels a footstep, the adult can come out of that cocoon in seconds. That's why a house that stood empty for months can come alive with fleas the day somebody moves in. They weren't dead. They were waiting. 41 years I did residential pest control, South Georgia up through Alabama. And fleas were the call where people had already spent the most money before I got there, and had the least to show for it. Today I'm going to show you the tool you already own that kills more fleas than anything on that shelf. The 10-second test that tells you if it's even fleas. And why the treatment that looks like it failed at day 12 was actually working the whole time. But there's a mistake at the end that is the reason this comes back year after year in the same house. Stay with me for that one. Let me walk you through what's actually happening, because once you see the cycle, every failed flea treatment you've ever had makes sense. A female flea lives on your animal and does one thing. She lays eggs. 15 to 20 a day, several hundred over her life. And here's the detail that matters most. The eggs don't stick. She lays them on the animal and they roll straight off. Wherever the dog walks, wherever the cat sleeps, down the hall, on the sofa, in the bed, under the coffee table. Your pet isn't the infestation. Your pet is the salt shaker. Then they hatch, anywhere from a couple of days to 2 weeks. And the larvae are the part nobody pictures. They're tiny, pale, worm-like, and they hate the light. So they wriggle down, deep into the carpet pile, into the crack between the floorboard and the skirting, under the edge of the couch cushion, into the pet bed stuffing. And what do they eat? Dried blood. Specifically, the droppings of the adult fleas, that black grit you find in your dog's coat. The adults are feeding the babies from upstairs. Then they spin a cocoon. And this is where the whole thing turns against you. That cocoon is sticky, it's covered in carpet fiber and dust, and it is resistant to insecticide. You can shampoo the carpet, spray the carpet, balm the room. The pupa doesn't care. And it can wait. Up to 5 months in that cocoon, dormant, costing nothing, needing nothing. What wakes it up? Warmth, carbon dioxide, and vibration. In other words, footsteps. A person or an animal walking past. That's the trigger, and the adult can be out and jumping in seconds. So now put the whole thing together. You treat the dog on Saturday. The adults die. For about a week, it looks like you've won. Then around day 10 to 14, the eggs that were already in the carpet finish their cycle, and the cocoons start opening. Fresh adults, straight onto your pet. And you think, the product didn't work. It worked. It just only ever had access to 5% of the problem. Here's how a flea call actually went, and where the money was. Fleas with a job where the customer had already spent $100 before they rang us. Shampoo, a collar, a supermarket spot on, 2 flea bombs, maybe a carpet powder. All of it aimed at the adults, all of it aimed at the animal, and all of it landing on 5% of the problem. And here's what we knew that they didn't. There's an ingredient called an insect growth regulator. It doesn't kill an adult flea at all. What it does is stop the eggs and larvae from ever becoming adults. It breaks the cycle instead of mowing the top off it. That's the ingredient that actually ends a flea problem. And it's the one most of the cheap retail sprays leave out. So people buy the thing that kills what they can see, because that's what feels like it's working. And they skip the thing that kills what they can't. The second thing we knew. In most houses, 95% of the infestation is in about 5% of the floor space. Not the whole house, 5%. Where the animal sleeps, where it lies in the sun, the spot at the end of the sofa, the rug by the back door. So a professional flea job isn't spraying a whole house evenly. It's finding the 4 or 5 places that matter and treating those properly. And that's something you can do yourself for nothing, if somebody tells you where to look. Nobody tells you. Because go and vacuum the dog's favorite corner every day for 2 weeks is not a product anybody sells. So here's where we're going. First, are they even fleas? Because there's a 10-second test with a wet paper towel that settles it. Then finding your 5%. Then the tool you already own and the right way to use it, because it does something no spray can. Then the animal, and I'll tell you plainly where my job ends and your vet's begins. Then the house. Then the pupil window, why it looks like it failed at day 12, and why that's normal. Then what doesn't work, including one thing that genuinely puts cats in the vets. And then the mistake. Before you spend anything, be sure. The adult flea. Very small, a couple of millimeters, dark reddish-brown. And the giveaway, it's flattened side to side like it's been pressed between 2 sheets of glass, so it can slip between hairs. No wings. And it jumps, an enormous distance for its size. But you'll often not see one at all, especially on a cat because they groom them off. So you look for what they leave behind. The wet paper towel test. And this is the one to do tonight. Sit the animal on a white sheet or a light towel. Comb the coat hard, especially at the base of the tail and the back of the neck. Comb against the direction of the hair. You'll knock out little black specks that look like ground pepper. That's flea dirt, flea droppings, which are dried blood. Now the test. Put those specks on a damp piece of white kitchen towel and press them. If they smear reddish brown, that's blood. That's fleas. Ordinary dirt just stays black. 10 seconds, costs nothing, and it's a definite answer. Where else to look? The pet's belly, the inside of the back legs, the base of the tail. On a light-colored animal, you'll sometimes see the specks in the coat without combing. And the signs on the animal itself. Constant scratching and biting at the base of the tail. Restlessness. Hair loss over the back end, red, irritated skin. If the animal is genuinely suffering, that's a vet visit. Some animals have a real allergy to flea saliva, and one bite sets them off. I'm not a vet. I killed bugs. That part's their job, not mine. And on you. Flea bites on people are usually around the ankles and lower legs, because that's what they can reach jumping off a carpet. If everyone's got bites below the knee and the dog's scratching, you've got your answer. Remember, 95% of them are in 5% of your house. Find that 5% and the job gets small. Here's the rule. Follow the animal, not the fleas. Get down on the floor and think about where your pet actually spends its time. The bed, obviously. This is the single biggest reservoir in most houses. Their second bed. Every animal has one. The rug by the radiator, the corner of the sofa, the spot on the landing, where they lie in the sun, that patch of carpet by the patio door, your bed if they sleep on it, and the couch, especially down in the seams and under the cushions, the car if they travel in it, along the routes they walk, the hall, the doorways, the bottom of the stairs, and outside. And this is where people look in completely the wrong place. Fleas don't survive in hot, sunny lawns. Relative humidity under 50% or soil above 95 degrees kills the larvae. So it isn't your open lawn. It's the moist, shaded spots where the animal lies. Under the deck, under the shrubs, the shady side of the house, under the porch, the kennel or the run. Mark those places, 5 or 6 of them most likely. That's your whole job, not the house, those spots. And one that costs people the entire treatment. Check mark if there's a crawl space or a shed where a cat gets under, or where a stray or a raccoon has been sleeping. That's a source point you'll never fix by treating the living room. Wildlife under the house is a very common reason a flea problem won't die. Before you fix it, it's worth knowing how they got in, because that's usually the thing that decides whether it ever comes back. And it is almost never the house was dirty. Same as bed bugs. Fleas need a warm-blooded animal, not a mess. Route 1, another animal. The obvious one, a visiting dog, a day at the kennels, the groomer, a walk where another dog was lying in the shade, your cat going over the fence. One pregnant female riding home is all it takes, and she starts laying that same day. Route 2, wildlife. And this is the one that ruins treatments. Raccoons, possums, feral cats, squirrels, rats. If any of those are living under your deck, in your crawl space, in the shed, or in the attic, they are running a flea nursery inside your property line, and nothing you do to your living room will touch it. I lost count of the flea jobs it wouldn't die, and the answer was a possum under the porch. You cannot solve a flea problem while an untreated animal is sleeping under the floor. If you've got wildlife, that's the first job, before any of this. Route 3, the house was already infested. This is the one people never guess. Remember, the cocoon can sit dormant for up to 5 months. So when a house or an apartment stands empty after the last tenant moved out with their dog, those cocoons don't die, they wait. Then you move in. You walk across the carpet. The vibration and the warmth and the carbon dioxide hit them all at once, and the place comes alive with fleas within days. If you've just moved in and you've got fleas and you don't even own a pet, that's what happened. It isn't your animal, it's the last one. Route 4, you carried them. On trousers, on shoes, in a bag. Less common than the others, but real. And Route 5, the yard, from a neighbor's animal or a stray using the same shaded spot. What this means practically. If you fix the house and the animal, but there's a possum under the deck or a stray sleeping under the shed, you'll be doing this again in a month. Deal with the source animal first, or you're treating the same infestation over and over and blaming the product. Here's the part that costs nothing and does more than anything you can buy. The vacuum cleaner. And it is not cleaning, it's a weapon. 3 things it does. 1, it physically removes them. Texas A&M puts it at up to 60% of the eggs and 30% of the larvae out of a carpet. Ohio State's figure for eggs runs higher still, up to 95% with frequent vacuuming. Either way, no spray on earth removes eggs. It just sits on top of them. 2, it takes away the larvae's food. Remember, they eat dried blood from adult flea droppings. Vacuuming lifts that out of the carpet base and starves the next generation. 3, and this is the clever one. Vacuuming stimulates the fleas to come out of those insecticide-resistant cocoons early. Think about what that means. The pupa's whole defense is waiting. The vibration of a vacuum imitates footsteps, so it opens. And now it's an adult, out in the open, vulnerable to everything, instead of sealed in a cocoon that nothing can touch. You are tricking the one stage you can't kill into becoming the one stage you can. How to do it properly. A beater bar head if you've got one. It gets deeper into the pile and it raises the carpet nap, which matters. If you're treating afterwards, that's what lets anything reach the base of the fibers where the larvae actually live. Go slow. 1 pass at walking speed does almost nothing. Slow, overlapping passes over your 5%. Where, specifically? The pet bed and around it. Under the furniture, not just around it. Along the skirting boards, that's where larvae migrate. The couch, cushions out, down into the seams. Under cushions. The edges of rugs. Anywhere the animal lies. Every day for 2 weeks, not once. This is a fortnight of 10-minute jobs, and it's the single most effective thing in this video. And the bit that undoes it if you skip it. Empty the vacuum outside every time. Fleas continue developing inside the bag or canister and will reinfest the house from your cupboard. Bag it, seal it, outside bin. Never leave it in the machine. Then the washing. Every bit of pet bedding, on the hottest wash the fabric will take, then the dryer on high. Same for any throw or blanket they lie on, and your own bedding if they sleep on the bed. If a pet bed is old and heavily infested, honestly, bin it and start again. It's cheaper than treating it. Now, this part I'm going to be careful about, and I want to tell you why. I'm not a vet. I killed bugs for a living for 41 years. What goes on your animal is a conversation with your vet, not with me. And I mean that specifically, because flea products can be dangerous if you get the species or the weight wrong. Here's what I'll say, and it's all general. Treat every animal in the house on the same day. Not just the one that's scratching. If you've got 2 cats and a dog and you only do the dog, the fleas simply live on the other 2. This is one of the most common reasons a treatment fails. Ask your vet what's right for your animal. The products they carry are generally a different class to what's on a supermarket shelf, and the difference is real. Never put a dog product on a cat. Some are genuinely dangerous to cats. Read the label, and if you're unsure at all, ring the vet before you open the packet. The flea comb is free and it works. Texas A&M calls it your pet's first line of defense, along with a bath. Comb daily over a white towel and have a bowl of soapy water beside you. Drop what you catch straight in. The soap breaks the surface tension so they can't jump back out, and soap itself acts as a mild insecticide. For a light problem on one animal, combing and bathing can genuinely handle it. For a heavy one, it won't clear it alone. But every flea you comb out is a few hundred eggs that never got laid. And if the animal is really suffering, raw skin, hair loss, not sleeping, that's the vet today. Some animals are allergic to flea saliva, and it goes well beyond an itch. There's one thing about fleas that most pet owners are never told, and it's worth 2 minutes. Fleas transmit tapeworms to dogs and cats. University of Kentucky lists it plainly. Fleas can transmit tapeworms and bacterial infections. Here's how it happens, and it explains something you might have seen. The flea larvae in your carpet pick up tapeworm eggs. That flea grows up and jumps onto your animal. Your animal gets itchy, bites at itself, and swallows the flea. The tapeworm goes with it. So the animal doesn't catch a tapeworm from the ground or from other animals. It catches it from grooming out its own fleas. What you'd notice: small pale segments, a bit like grains of rice, around the animal's back end or in its bedding, sometimes moving. And I'll say the same thing I said before. That's a vet call, not a Ray call. Tapeworm is straightforward for a vet to deal with, and the treatment is routine. But the ordinary worming schedule doesn't always cover it. So if you've had fleas, mention the fleas when you ring. That one sentence changes what they do. Why I'm telling you this at all? Because it changes how urgent the carpet is. It isn't only about itching. Every flea your dog swallows off its own coat is a potential tapeworm. And the fleas it's swallowing came out of your floor. Fleas can also carry bacterial infections. And in some parts of the country, fleas on rodents matter for other reasons, which is another argument for dealing with any rats or wildlife around the property rather than only the pet. I'm not trying to frighten anybody. Most flea problems are an itch and a nuisance and nothing more. But it's a reason to finish the job properly instead of stopping when the scratching stops. So you've vacuumed, you've washed, the animal's been dealt with. Here's the part that decides whether it comes back. Treat the environment twice. Minimum. The second treatment somewhere around 10 to 21 days after the first. And here's why. And this is the single most useful thing I can tell you about fleas. Around day 10 to 14, you will see fleas again. New adults, hopping about, biting your ankles, back on the dog. And every person in America at that moment thinks the same thing. It didn't work. It worked. What you're watching is the cocoons opening on schedule, the ones nothing could touch when you treated. That's called the pupal window. And it isn't a failure. It's the reservoir emptying. If you quit at that moment, you lose. If you treat again right then, you catch that whole generation as it emerges, and it's over. So mark it on the calendar before you start. Day 1, treat. Day 12 to 14, expect fleas and treat again. Expecting it is what stops you giving up. And keep vacuuming right through it, every day, both weeks. You're pulling cocoons open early, straight into whatever you've treated with. On what to treat with, checkmark, this is where the growth regulator matters. A product that only kills adults leaves the 95% alone. Read the label and look for something that covers the immature stages too. That's the difference between a fortnight of this and 6 months of it. And treat your 5%, not the whole house. The pet beds, the couch, the roots, the shaded outdoor spots. Whatever you use, put it where they actually are. Outside. Treat only the shaded, moist places where the animal lies. Don't treat the open lawn. The fleas aren't there and the sun's already killing them for free. People either ignore the yard completely or they treat the whole thing. Both are wrong, and the right answer saves you money. Fleas cannot survive in an open, sunny lawn. Texas A&M is explicit. Relative humidity under 50% or soil temperature above 95 degrees kills flea larvae. Your mown lawn in August is already a killing field. Treating it is money on grass. They live in the moist, shaded places where your animal lies. That's the whole outdoor map. Under the deck or the porch, shaded, damp, and it's where the dog goes to get cool. This is the #1 outdoor source point. Under shrubs and hedges, especially on the north side of the house. The kennel, the run, or any outdoor bedding. Under the steps. Along the fence line where they patrol in the shade. Any crawl space opening. Here's the test that finds them. Put on tall white socks, pull them up over your trouser legs, and walk slowly through those shaded areas for a minute or two. Then look down. Fleas jump onto light-colored moving legs, and against white socks you'll see them straight away. Do the sunny lawn as well and compare. You'll find nothing out there. And that comparison tells you exactly where to spend. What to do with those spots. Sunlight and airflow are free. Cut back the shrubs, thin what's overhanging, let light get to the ground. Fleas can't tolerate dry, sunny soil, so you're removing the habitat rather than poisoning it. Rake up leaf litter and organic debris from those areas. That's where the larvae are hiding. Move the outdoor bedding, wash it hot or replace it. Block access under the deck and the porch. Same hardware cloth I talked about in the rodent video. That solves the flea problem and the wildlife problem in one job. And if you do treat outside, treat only those spots, not the lawn. A yard treatment aimed at 5 shaded areas is a fraction of the cost, and it's the only part that was ever infested. One more. If you've got a stray or a neighbor's cat using your shaded areas, you'll keep getting reinfested no matter what you do. That's a conversation with a neighbor or a call to animal control, not another bottle of spray. Flea bombs and foggers. Same story as roaches and bed bugs for the same reason. A fogger settles a mist on top of the carpet. The eggs, larvae, and cocoons are down at the base of the pile, and the mist never reaches them. You'll kill some adults, gas your house, and the 95% hatches on schedule. It's the 3rd video where I've told you the bomb is the wrong answer, and it's the same reason every time. It can't reach where they live. Essential oils, and this one is serious. Tea tree, pennyroyal, eucalyptus, citrus oils. They're all over the internet as natural flea treatments. Several of these are genuinely toxic to cats. Cats can't process them the way we do, and they can get very ill. Every year, vets see cats poisoned by owners trying to help them. Please don't put essential oils on an animal. If you want something natural, ask your vet what's safe for that species. That's a real answer, and it costs a phone call. Garlic and brewer's yeast in the food. No good evidence they do anything. And garlic in quantity is not good for dogs. Skip it. Flea collars on their own. They may do something around the neck. They do nothing about the carpet, and the carpet is the problem. Ultrasonic plug-ins. Nothing. 7th video I've said it in. salt and baking soda on the carpet. The idea is it dries the larvae out. There's very little evidence it works at any practical dose, and salt ground into a carpet holds moisture and can damage the backing over time. Vacuuming does the same job properly and doesn't wreck your floor. Treating the dog and not the house, the classic. 5% solved, 95 untouched. And treating once. Covered, that's the pupil window, and it's the mistake that cost people the whole month. Here it is. You treated the animal when the animal was never the infestation. The dog is where you see the fleas. It's not where they live. 95% of them are in the carpet, in the bed, in the couch seam, and in the shady patch under the deck. The pet is the delivery vehicle. The house is the nest. And here's the second half, and it's why this comes back to the same houses year after year. People stop when the scratching stops. The dog settles down about day 5, everybody relaxes. The vacuum goes back in the cupboard, the second treatment never happens. And in the carpet, thousands of cocoons carry on sitting there, dormant, patient, for up to 5 months. Then in the autumn, somebody walks across that rug and it starts again. And you swear the fleas came from nowhere. They never left. They were waiting on you. So, find your 5%. Vacuum it daily for 2 weeks. Empty it outside every time. Wash every bit of bedding. Treat every animal on the same day. Treat the environment twice, and expect the day 12 rebound instead of being beaten by it. Do that once properly and you're done. Treat the dog and hope, and you'll be doing this every single summer. One last thing, and then I'll let you get on. Tonight, get a white towel and sit your animal on it. Comb the coat hard at the base of the tail, against the hair. If black specks come off, put them on a wet piece of kitchen paper and press. If it smears red, you've got your answer. And then, before you buy a single thing, go and find the 4 or 5 places that animal actually sleeps. That's where they are. That's the whole job. The vacuum's already in the cupboard. Start there. If you want the rest of what 41 years taught me, I put a new one up every couple of days. I'll be here.